Good morning, everybody. I hope you all had a great week. I know some of you are stricken by ridiculously cold weather. I was talking to my friend in San Antonio, and she said this is the worst in 100 years. So if you are affected by it, you have my thoughts and prayers and best wishes, and hope it's going well. How is it in Connecticut, Polly?
Well, it's very pretty.
And white, pretty and
I-
white.
Yeah, it's pretty and white and it's cold. So
Okay.
it is what it is. We're used to it, but it's pretty.
Let's see, hold on. All right. Yeah, and who else is on here? Maureen, is it cold in Arizona?
It's a little chilly for us, but I know you guys would laugh. It's not cold.
Okay, how about Dennis? How about New Mexico?
Cold and dry for the last 2 days.
Ah,
Over the weekend, we had 3 or 4 inches of snow, but it doesn't last very long.
yeah,
It's been in the single digits and low 20s for, well, actually low 20s for the high up until yesterday, and we finally got into the 40 range, which is
nice, yeah. Hey, Andrew, how's it doing down in SoCal? Is it staying warm?
Yeah, it's you really want me to tell you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm only up here in Northern California. It's supposed to get to
No, Andy, I
65.
don't.
It's another boring 65 and sunny today.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're supposed to get to 65 and sunny, but right now up here it's drizzly and overcast and cold. So hopefully we'll see a turnaround in the afternoon. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me today. We got a lot of good responses when I talked about listings. It is one of my fortes. It's something that I aspired to as an early agent in my career. My uncle, I had an uncle that he was a beer truck driver, and he had a stroke in 1962. And while he was laid up, he studied real estate. And within a couple of years, he was the top selling real estate agent in the county that we live in. And then, so that was by like 64, 65. And then by 71, he had opened his own office. And, but he was married to my mom's sister, and my mom, he was full-blooded Lebanese, born in the United States. My mom and her sister were born in Lebanon, and he told them to send for their family. So all of their brothers and sisters and cousins all came over in 1968 and started working in a truck part factory so that they could learn English enough to get their real estate license. And as soon as they, to get their driver's license. And as soon as they had enough English to get their driver's license, they started studying for their real estate license. So by 1971, I had 68 relatives that were real estate agents. 68. All in one damn office, right? I mean, think about that. They were all in my uncle's office. And as personalities started to develop and people started to sort of sow their wild oats and start to feel more independent of my uncle who taught them all, everybody scattered, went to different offices. And here I am today, 50 years later, and there's still, I probably have well over 70 relatives in a 50-mile radius that sell real estate here. So when people tell me, oh, I'm sorry, Rick, I bought a home from your cousin, I go, you're going to need to be a lot more specific than just my cousin. So it doesn't work. But one of the things my uncle taught me, and that was that he who lists lasts. And he said, you know, you always want to be, they used the word king of listings back then if you're a man, and a woman if you were the queen of listings. And you know, they would joke around back in the 70s, because I was typing up listings as a way to make money for my uncles. I had to use carbon paper and a typewriter and all these different things. And I know this goes way, way back, but the main thing that I want to talk about is the power of listings has been huge ever since, I mean, at least 50 years. And the problem all of us have with taking listings, the problem we all have with taking listings is our own darn mindset. There's people who are saying, you know, I, I don't want to take listings because sellers are so needy, or what if they don't sell, or there's a million different things. Even between 2007 and 2010, where a buyer could, possibly look at as many as 30 or 40 listings in their price range. Like that's how many there were available or more, right? It was really like nowadays there's maybe 2 or 3 they can look at and they're all going to be gone in a week anyway. So good luck. But those are the markets where people say, man, I'm glad I'm representing buyers and not sellers. Again, that's a mindset issue because of the lack of skills of how to work with a seller in a declining market or a raising market or a more normal or sort of neutral market where it's not a buyer's market and it's not a seller's market. Okay. Now, I want this today to be something that you take something away, hopefully, and go do better at getting listings. And, I've got agents on my team that only represent buyers, but they all know they're more than welcome to get us listings. I mean, I would love it. I love that. And we've got a guy on our team named Joaquin. All he does is he's got a full-time job. And when he's part-time, when he's not on his full-time job, he's making calls to get listing appointments. That's all he does. I haven't even heard of him showing a buyer yet. And why do I say that? Is because there's more leverage built into taking listings. I've told you guys this before on a call, that the National Association of Realtors says that you're going to spend on average 3 hours on average total with a seller and on average 9 hours total with a buyer. So think about that. I mean, you're basically getting paid 1/3 per hour working with a buyer that you are with a seller. Now, remember, said it before, this doesn't mean stop working with buyers, guys. That's the bread and butter, the peanut butter and jelly of our business. Okay. It's a matter of leveraging your time so that if you have family, I can remember many years ago, I was married. I had 2 boys at the time. I think they were like 11 and 8 at the time. And I started coaching this guy who was a bartender. He was 26 years old. And I was coaching him on balance and leverage and how to go out. And he's like, hey, don't be talking to me about balance and leverage. This is exactly what he said to me. He goes, I'm a bartender. I'm single. I live at home with my mom. And I just want to work until I make enough money to not ever live at home with my mom again. He said, so I don't need balance. I need to just work and sell more houses. And some of us are like that. Like right now, I'm riding the wave, right? It's a busy market. I'm talking to people. We've got a proposition that passed in California that makes people 55 and over. Okay, did you guys hear that? I know I got muted for just a second, but so we want to ride that wave. It's busy out there. It's a time to network. It's a time to have more relationships. It's time to talk to more people about what's going on. Now, since I last talked to you, and I think I might have mentioned it on one of the calls. We did mention it last week with Katie about the fact that 30 to 35% of your database is not aware of how hot the market is. They're not aware that inventory is low. So that's another good way to make efforts to take more listings. But what I wanted to say about that is that there is a huge push. The coaching company I coach for, Workman Success Systems, other coaching companies are pushing people 120-day listing challenges, who can get the most listings in the next 4 months and things like that. Those are all wonderful things, but it's going to start with you and you facing you in the mirror alone and saying, what's it going to take to get you to go out and find people who want to list homes? That means you're not stopping. You're trying everything. You're calling your database. You're knocking if you don't like to knock on doors, because of COVID, you door drop, right? Make up a cheapy flyer that says, are you aware of how much your home is worth? Like if it only said that, the market is crazy hot and your home has gone up in value. And then just put your name and number. Call me for a confidential, evaluation on your property. That's it. That alone would work well. drop it while you're walking the dog. If it's 30 below, put something over your ear so your earlobes don't drop off, but still get out there and door drop. Maybe put the paper in something plastic. I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing like prospecting. And I heard my wife on a call yesterday. Most of you know she's a coach. And she said, I heard her talking to people and she said, how many people here feel they don't have enough belief in themselves? And there was like 60, 70 people on the call. And it was not a call about lead generating for real estate sales. It was a call to a group of people she coaches about recruiting. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing. It's prospecting, right? And here's what she had a lot of people. I could hear it because I was, walking around the house. I wasn't on a Zoom call at the moment. And I could hear it. And a lot of people were saying, me. I have a lack of belief in myself. And she started talking about this idea that activity breeds belief, meaning the more activities you do towards what you want, all right, you're going to get no's and you're going to get an occasional yes. That occasional yes is what builds your confidence in your belief and allows for more activity. So they always say activity begets belief and belief begets more activity. Now, if you had tons of belief in yourself, I said it several weeks ago, and I've said it over and over again, you've got to sometimes borrow confidence from some other area of your life where you knew you had confidence, right? Where you knew that if somebody asked you about this subject, you didn't care what anybody said. You knew you were the guy that needed to speak up. Okay, think about that. And what area of life was that for you? And even in my early days, both when my wife was trying to recruit me into working with her in her networking industry, New Skin, and even early in my early days in real estate, they would say, look, I believe in you, even if you don't believe in yourself. So borrow my belief in you. Okay. This is what one of my uncles used to tell me, a different uncle than the one who started the brokerage, but another one who succeeded very highly in real estate, had an ugly ass toupee, spoke English with a thick accent, and was still selling 85, 90 houses a year here in the Bay Area. Right. So, but he always used to say, honey, like this, he'd go, honey, I believe in you. If you don't believe in you, don't worry, I believe in you. And that's how he'd send us out. Now go knock on some doors. So that borrowing other people's belief in yourself. What is it, Sherry? I see you grinning. I know that wasn't a good Lebanese accent, but I was born here in the United States. But here's the thing. What is it that's keeping you from doing the one thing that will enrich your life in so many ways? Right now, listings are a guaranteed paycheck. Now, I know there's some luxury markets, even here in the Bay Area, that the luxury markets aren't doing as well as the middle of the market for sure. But there's so much things. Now, like for instance, Gina is still on the call, my assistant. She's probably busy working, but she's both basically on the call for administrative support. But I said, send me the list of all the things we do from before we go to a listing appointment all the way till the listing is closed. And the list was like, I don't know, it was like 44 items or something. I can't remember exactly. And we're constantly adding to it, right? Anywhere from a pre-listing packet to a closing gift after closing, right? And all those different things. Gina, were you going to say something? Because
I was saying, yes, that's around 41 items
okay,
that I prepared for listing.
Yeah. So that, when you think about that, that's the part right there that keeps people who haven't done listings in the past. I literally had somebody tell me the other day, 22 years in the business. Rick, it's just easier for me. I love working with buyers. I love running around and meeting them. Don't talk to me about listings. I'm like, okay, like if that's your thing. And it's, remember, I used to tell you, one of the reasons I like coaching for Workman Success Systems instead of any other coaching company is they're so big on a coach's job is to coach people to where they want to go, not where you think they should go. Right. And it's the same when I'm talking to all of you. If listings isn't what you want to do, that's okay. If listings is something deep in your mind that you go, I see my friends doing a lot of listings, but yet, it's just an area I'd rather not go into, then that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about tackling your fears and making listings a integral part of your real estate business. So there's a million scripts that I've used over the years, some that I've made up, some that I've learned from others. And one of my, one of my favorite things to do is to door knock during a low inventory market. Okay. Now, a lot of people, even me, I've made up some stuff in my head about what it would be like to door knock. Like maybe I'd get a lot more doors slammed in my face. Like, where's your mask? Or maybe even if I am wearing a mask. But I do find a lot of confidence in door dropping right now. And I try to door drop when it's not raining or snowing or freezing. And when I know that there may be people out there who are out and about, like maybe a Saturday morning or a Friday afternoon, or a Sunday afternoon, whatever, when I know there's more people, because that would be where I could have conversations. Now, what is a conversation? Does it have to be a presentation? Do I have to solicit real estate? No. Okay, you don't have to. You need to get to where they know and like you. Know and like come before trust. All right. So if I want people to know me, then they'll like me, then they'll trust me, then guess what? Then they'll do business with me. All right. But what do I have to do to get all that? I have to supply value. I have to do SBO, get SBO, write that down, service before opportunity. All right. I've got to be able to serve before I expect anything in return for it. So bring value to people. Like what I'm working on our team about right now is we're all saying, look, this Proposition 19 thing is a really big thing. It's misunderstood highly. So what did we do? Think about where you do business. What's the big deal where you do business? Okay, so like, Maureen's in the real estate industry. She's not currently a real estate agent. She's in title and escrow. So I would ask, like, Maureen, what's the big hullabaloo going on in Phoenix, Arizona? Or I could ask, and even though Andy's in SoCal and Southern California is affected by Proposition 19, but maybe they have other things down there that are more idiosyncratic of that area. It's the same, like Dennis is in Santa Fe, in New Mexico. So those are the things I'm talking about that could or couldn't make a difference for you in terms of knowing what value to bring to your clients. All right. And I go back to, it all starts with phone calls, right? It all starts with a connection with the people. I told you before that when I call people, a lot of times they say, you're checking in on me? My kids aren't even checking in on me. So that's a good thing. That's a really good conversation to have, whether it's checking in on your realtor friends, checking in on your friends that are not real estate agents, which it's starting to be fewer and fewer of your friends are not real estate agents. I look at my phone, I'm surprised at how many of those people in there are actually real estate agents. So, I had a brother-in-law, my brother's brother-in-law, get his real estate license. And I used to get so much business from that family. My brother's in-laws families, they lived all over here around here. And then one of the other in-laws got a real estate license. So all the business started to go towards him. Well, then during the 2008 to 2011 crash, he got out of real estate, got back to his job. And I told him, I said, look, I'll still pay you referral fees if you want to bring family business to me. And he goes, nah, I'm not going to keep my license. And I think since he got out, I've probably done 3 or 4 bits of business with my brother's family that I wouldn't have had. So it's an example that, yes, everybody's going to have a real estate agent. Everybody's going to have a friend in real estate, but that doesn't matter. It used to be that when I remember going to one of my first Mike Ferry seminars and he was talking about door knocking and somebody raised their hand in the audience. I would never raise my hand at Mike Ferry seminars because I was so afraid anything I said, he would ridicule in front of the whole 5,000 people. And he did it quite often to everybody. And this guy raises his hand and says, well, a lot of people aren't home. He goes, yeah, you're not looking for the people who aren't home. You're looking for the people that are home. So what's your point? Like that direct. And that's a really good point, right? They're not home. Maybe put the address down so you can go back again. Is there anybody here that they're in a state that is so open that door knocking wouldn't be a big surprise to anybody that had their door knocked on? Sherry, Tennessee is like that. You want to unmute?
Yeah, we're pretty open here. We have open houses and we can do, like, we just walk the neighborhood around the open house and it's well received. It's not a problem here.
Okay. Good. Does any other states that have open houses or door knocking would seem more acceptable? I know we do.
Arizona.
Arizona, Maureen? Carla?
I was just gonna say, I think Arizona, I just had an agent ask me today for open house materials for her open house tomorrow. So I actually kind of chuckled because everything in Arizona is selling so darn fast. They're selling, most everything is selling here, even in coming soon mode.
Yeah.
So I was shocked that she's doing an open house, because what's happening here is now there are lines and lines of people to get into a new listing when it goes on the market. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's just
Yeah.
crazy.
And we're in, we talk about that all the time about, what do you do with a seller in a market where the prices are plummeting? What do you do with a seller in a market where there's 10 buyers for every one listing? What do you do with a seller? These are all skill sets that we have to learn. And it's not automatic, and it's not the same everywhere. When I used to be at Keller Williams, Gary Keller used to say, everything works, nothing doesn't. If you think this idea doesn't work in the market, I would guarantee you that it does, with a little tweaking. Meaning every idea would work everywhere if you had to tweak it for the market. I remember I had this period in time where I was doing a lot of speaking for Keller Williams Realty. And within a 3-week period, I did a class in Carmel, California. Okay. And then within the same 3 weeks, I did a class in a town called Carmel, Indiana, spelled the same, pronounced differently. And, and I got to Carmel, Indiana, saying it was Carmel, Indiana. I said, "Oh, it's so cool that you've invited me here to Carmel, Indiana. I was just in Carmel, California." And the whole class one time said it's Carmel, right? So, but here's the thing. The market this is a true story. It was during the downfall of the market where the average commission in Carmel, California was the average sale price in Carmel, Indiana.
Wow.
Did you hear that? I mean, that's a crazy number. So it was like my friends that owned a Keller Williams near Carmel, Indiana, I forget the name of the town. I think it was Greenfield or something, but they were saying that they were selling tons of houses for $37,000, $40,000, $50,000 at that time. And that these houses would rent out for $600-$700 a month. I mean, think about that. That's some serious cash flow for your investment. Anyway, long story short, the thing that when I taught the class in Carmel, there was a lot of people from the Pebble Beach market. And Pebble Beach is this gated, very wealthy community near 17 Mile Drive. And it's where the Pebble Beach Pro-Am is being played. I don't know if that was last week or this week. I think it was last week.
Last week.
Yeah. Anyway, so there was a guy in there that was pretty snotty. He's like, "We don't door knock in Pebble Beach." Well, after the class got done, a guy comes up to me that's in his early 60s. And the only reason I know that is he said it. He said, "Hey, Rick, my name's so-and-so. I'm in my early 60s. I just got into real estate." He said, "I heard that guy say that." He said, "After listening to you today, I'm going to go door knock Pebble Beach." And I go, "I thought the guy said you can't door knock in Pebble Beach." He said, "No, it's a gated community, but real estate agents can get access to the gate for $35 a year. $35 a year if you're a licensed real estate agent to get in and out." I'm like, "Are you serious?" He goes, "Yeah." So I start talking to this guy. We get along well. About 6 months later, he reaches back out to me. I want to say this was 2008 or 9. And he says, "Oh my gosh, Rick, I'm getting such good response by door knocking." He said, "I want to attribute it to my age. I want to attribute it to my general enthusiastic personality." But he said, I got a lot of doors that didn't answer. He said, "But I can remember the very first door that ever answered on my door knocking invited me in to, there's an accident in the background. Hope everybody's okay. But invited me in to their grandkids' 1-year birthday party." And he said, they took me to the backyard and gave me a glass of wine and said, "Well, if you're a realtor in the neighborhood, we want you to know our friends and everything." And he was like speechless. Now, this isn't going to happen for most people, let's be honest. but he started to talk about how well he was received because he wasn't responding to the door opening saying, hi, just checking to see if you know of anybody who wants to buy or sell real estate. He was knocking as if to create better relationships. Like he wanted to be known like the mailman's known. Like people look up, see the mailman coming. They don't get alerted. They don't get worried. It's the mailman, right? So, and he really did a good job over the next several years and, decided not to sell real estate anymore, but he made some really good money door knocking. And he said that the majority of people whose doors he were knocking on, the majority, not all of them, could not afford to buy their home today if they had to buy that home today, right? In other words, they became accidental millionaires by owning their home because the property value had gone up so much from when they bought it. So it's really the problems in becoming great listing agents is always here. It's always here. It's not the brokerage you're with. It's not what classes you didn't take. It's all here. I got to get rid of the mindset and then go out and seek the help and skills I need to be a better listing agent. Simple as that. So the class that we had a couple weeks ago when I did only talk, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, where I talked a lot about listings. I did actually go through a listing appointment with everybody. And when it got to 10 o'clock and we had to get off, because I always have another 10 o'clock call, it was like we were running out of time. So first and foremost, I'd love to spend a little time, since it's approaching 9:30 now, to ask you to not put it in the chat, but unmute and ask a question that would specifically help you to take more listings, because I think when you ask that, other people will learn from it also. So does anybody want to ask a question? I'll check the chat right now real quick.
Can I share?
Yeah, go ahead.
Good morning, Rick. I loved your service before opportunity or above opportunity. My Rotary days for years is the motto or the words that they use, which I carry to this day: service above self.
Yeah,
and
nice.
I use that in my walk with life with real estate. And before that, in one of my personal business I had before, but it seems to always, I carry that in my side of me, and I use that terminology a lot, and something I even put on my Facebook page today.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. And I was a Rotarian for a New York second for a while, but I mean, I always used to go be guest speakers at Rotary clubs and help them with emceeing charity events. So I just love that. And I really see that as being a valuable part of what we're representing. Now, Coach Katie was on last week and talked about during virtual block parties, and in the chat group, she's talking about doing virtual open houses, which really had a nice big push back in 2020 after COVID came along, and there was lots of different systems out there and ways to doing them, but they sort of drifted off. Like people weren't worried about doing them anymore because everything was selling so quickly. So here's my thought on that, just to remind you. Thank you, Katie, for putting that in there. And oh, by the way, everybody's asking for the list. It's not complete, but I will get Gina to give the list to me, and we'll put it in the email where we send out the recording. Good with everybody? Good. All right. But here's the thing. Gosh, what was I going to say? We were talking about virtual open houses. Maureen was commenting on the fact that they're selling so quick. Why go do the open house here in our area of California? And I'd want to ask Andy if they're doing it much in SoCal, but most of the areas around here, people are setting an actual offer date. Okay. Now, when I do offer dates myself, we put our listing on the MLS on a Friday night, meaning the Monday through Friday. That earlier Monday, we have to have known that the house is ready. We get word from the seller. Okay, everything we talked about getting done is done. Then if anything, Monday is the final staging, finishes, cleaning finishes. Tuesday and Wednesday, we get the inspections and the photography. By Thursday, we've got the flyer done. And by Friday night, we hit the MLS. We want the MLS to have everything in it, all of the inspections, all of the disclosures, amazing photography, Matterport 3D, video walkthrough, everything to really promote the house in its best fashion. And then we're going to keep it on the market on purpose, where we set the offer date for 2 weekends later on a Monday. So I go on the market on a Friday, we have a Saturday, Sunday, a full week, and another Saturday and Sunday, and offers are due essentially 10 days later on a Monday. This is working very effectively. Some people are putting their homes on the market on a Friday and looking at offers the following Tuesday, and they're still getting good results. My only concern for me, if I'm talking to a seller, is, well, then you're only on the market 4 or 5 days, and how many people that would have paid more didn't yet get to see your home? It's always that question, right? And I tell my clients, I go, look, once you've agreed on a price and you're happy and we're moving forward, please don't look back. It's the same as my stockbroker tells me. He says, when I sell your stock, don't go back and look at that stock after it's all sold and say, oh, it went up 10%. Just move forward. We've sold it. It's too late. We're moving forward. So it's the same thing. But
Bless you.
thank you. But you guys got to remember this, that if we say that those 10 days are to benefit the seller, aren't they also benefiting us, that we can now do an open house or a virtual open house, or spend more time allowing us to pick up clients in the effort of doing that? Now, once you get a listing or you get a sale, I got a call from one of my many cousins the other day. All right. He's much younger than me, so he could essentially be my kid, but he's not. He's my first cousin. And he's very successful in the luxury market in a particular area. So he's been in the real estate business 21 years. I've been in the business 41 years. His dad was one of the uncles that I was telling you had the bad toupee and the accent. But his dad was super successful in the luxury market. Always wore a beautiful suit and tie and a pocket kerchief and just all kinds of, he was just a great guy. And he said, Rick, I'm in a slump, and there's this new guy coming from out of the area that sold 900 homes in his career, and he's starting to infringe on my territory. And I was incensed by the question. I'm like, you know better, Joe. You know better. I said, you are born in Washington Hospital in Fremont. You're raised in Fremont, and the majority of homes you've sold in Fremont. How can you tell me somebody can come from out of the area and take your area? There's always plenty of room for 2 or 3 real estate agents in any area. The problem is you're not getting out enough. You're sending out postcards. I said, in the old days, you and your dad used to walk and meet people and talk to people. I said, get your butt out there. I said, get out and door drop, get out. And he said, well, he just sold a house for 400,000 over asking, which, by the way, is not that unusual in this area, guys, 400,000 over asking. And he says, now he gets to tell people that. I go, what? You can tell people that it went for 400,000 over asking. It's public information. And you don't have to say it was your listing. He gets to say it was. Who cares? But you can beat him to it. The reason he knew it went for that is because he offered 350,000 over asking for one of his clients, and he didn't get it. So he knew that it was going to go for about 400,000 over asking. He can immediately start door dropping, saying, ladies and gentlemen, homes in your area are going for as much as $400,000 over asking. Call me immediately if you're thinking of selling. You don't have to be the listing agent to say that. It's our mindset issues that keep us from doing that. So there's no reason. You cannot give me a reason. If you know of an area that some agent farms, and I'm going to assume most of you know what I mean by farming, because they drop all the time. They get a postcard every month. Maybe they drop pumpkins off or whatever. They're farming that area. That doesn't mean he wins all the business. In fact, I would challenge you to go into the MLS and find out actually how much business, and you will be surprised if it's much over 33% of the business. You will be very surprised. I would be very surprised, because some people are just going to look at that person and say, I don't like the way he parts his hair or the way he speaks, or there's a million things that would turn people off. We don't know what they are, but they always have room for someone else. And I used to tell people, you want to be a great listing agent, go into any neighborhood, especially the neighborhood you live in, and find, I think maybe Katie talked about this, the Gladys Kravitz of every neighborhood. Gladys Kravitz was the nosy neighbor on Bewitched, right? She knew everything that was going on in everybody's house. And I would tell people all the time, go find the Gladys Kravitz in the neighborhood, make friends with her, give her gifts and everything, and she'll tell you who's getting a divorce, who's moving, all of that stuff. Those are the people to know. So, and Patrice, I agree with you that people do want to see a new face in the neighborhood. And, I had somebody tell me once, it was probably 12, 13 years ago, but I don't think it's changed. And he said this to me when I came to his door and dropped something off. He said, Rick, you know why I respect you? And I said, why? He goes, because you still beat the pavement for your living. That's what he said. And yeah, he was older than me, but what's that mean? There's still a lot of baby boomers out there selling and buying, right? We just recently sold a first-time home buyers to people who were in their late 50s. I mean, 1964, if you were born in 64, what would you be right now? You'd be 50, what would you be?
56.
56. Thank you for the math. Almost 57. Yeah, so the youngest baby boomers are 57, right? And I think 70, 75 are the oldest ones, somewhere in there. So you think about it, there's a lot of them out there still buying and selling. So they still make up a very good portion of the real estate marketplace. And if they're living in 2-story homes or been in the home an extraordinary amount of time, they're definitely a target for listing more homes. All right. So thank you. That was all prompted by some of your stuff. Who else has a question or a thought?
I have a question.
Yes, Heidi.
You said that you have a list of 44 items for a listing. Do you
Yes.
actually get all 44 done in only 3 hours?
Oh yeah, most of it doesn't have anything to do with being in front of the client. Okay, so I basically see my clients twice, Heidi, and of course you have to remember this is another mindset issue. A lot of us think of the word, when I get a listing, I'm going to serve my clients amazingly well. And what I tell my clients is no one will service them as well as me and my team will. I don't say me because that would be really irresponsible. And the first time I learned this as a lesson, Heidi, really good point you're making, was when Gary Keller was trying to convince me personally. Gary was my coach when the company was super, super small. It was only like 9,000 agents. And he said, why are you showing Dr. Treadway $1 million properties instead of having your buyer's agent do it? I said, because it's $1 million properties. It's Dr. Treadway, right? And he said, Dr. Treadway is and I probably shared this with you before, so if I'm repeating, go with it. He said, Dr. Treadway runs an entire college. Let me ask you, Rick, when you call there, does he answer the phone? I said, no, his secretary does. And he goes, yeah. See, he has a secretary. He goes, when you book the appointment, what do you do? He goes, I book it with the secretary. And he goes, yeah, right. He said, so that's because Dr. Treadway knows there's certain things he'll do and certain things he won't do because he runs an entire college. He has deans, he has vice presidents, and they all report to him. So he said, I urge you to bring Dr. Treadway and his wife in and tell them about June, your buyer's agent. So I did that. And Dr. Treadway was like, okay, great. When do we get started? And I was sure he was going to say, no, Rick, I want you to show me homes. I was absolutely sure that he was going to do that. Now, why do we say that about listings? Because the majority of the stuff that gets done on that list is done by Gina, not me. I introduce her immediately to the sellers. I tell them about her, that without her, so many things don't get done. Thank God for her, and then we go about it. But the two main things that I do is the initial visit to win the listing, and then the second visit when we do the paperwork. And what's really been cool about COVID is now most of the paperwork was Cindy and I did a listing appointment last night with one of her listing clients. And they said, oh, because we were going to go over it on DocuSign, electronic signature with them. They're like, no, just FedEx us the paperwork. We'll fill it all out and give it to Cindy when we see her next week. Like, okay, but I'm not going to the house for 90 minutes like I used to as the second visit because the paperwork, 113 pages for listing paperwork and disclosure paperwork in the state of California. Freaking ridiculous, but it's true. And then at the end, during that visit, we're talking about what showings will be like. What are their responsibilities? What are my responsibilities? And then most of that, and it's become it was more rampant even before that. I was presenting offers to my clients on Zoom 2 years before COVID hit, because the clients, all the offers would come in the evening. And a lot of times the clients would go, Rick, it's okay. Because I'd say, would you like me to come to your house, or are you comfortable with Zoom? And Marissa and I, one of our buyer's agents, we had a listing where we literally, the couple was in their 80s and they were so Mac knowledgeable. They were so knowledgeable about Macs that Mac computers, and they're like, yeah, Zoom be great with us, Rick. I'm like, holy cow, that's awesome. So really, 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 we got to keep our mindset such that, and Heidi, it's probably less now of how much I actually see the client versus what Gina does. And then of course, the presentation of the offers, if you're going to have multiple offers, what I tell my clients now is I will review them all before I send them with you and stress you out. Right. And every once in a while you get one of those clients that's a super high C and he goes, just send them all to me. I want to read them. I'm like, all right, I'll call you tomorrow or day after tomorrow, whatever. But I don't get in the way of people or insist that they do it my way. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I'm a good listing agent, because I'm always looking to find out what that client wants or expects from me. And that's, of course,
Rick?
part of the listing presentation. Yes.
I have an Excel spreadsheet that just goes down, every iteration of multiple offers that, I fill in each thing. So I do the top 5 to 6 offers that we received. We received that many on everything. And I send that to them. And then I send them all of the offers, because they're going to have to reject the ones they're not taking. And then, and go through it over the phone. I'm not even doing Zoom.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you
That's absolutely fine. I mean, I think that's great if that you're doing it that way. I think that for me, I'm just, I'm a high I, Carla, and I just like that face to face, like I like to see them, even if it's on Zoom versus that. I know Katie's saying things inside her head that she's
I'm
not
a
saying
high I
out
too,
loud.
Rick. I get
know,
it.
I know. So, and that's the whole thing, is that it's going to be what works for your clients, because it's for them. And then can you deal with that yourself? So good questions. These are really good. Yeah.
I saw people responding to my comment in the chat, but I just wanted to say something about your working with your team or leveraging out your team. And this is something I've done with coaching realtors and loan officers for years, is I just want you to think of the last time you went to KFC, when you picked up your chicken, did the Colonel make your chicken?
Yeah.
No, because he's dead. And somehow you still got the Colonel's chicken. So the idea is you communicate a system and a process, and your customer, your clients, your friends, will get the same experience because you set the standard. And it's taking care of the standard. You don't actually have to make the chicken for your clients to still get the Colonel's chicken, right? You got me on that?
I love your explanation, Kate.
Yeah, I'm full of analogies. So there you go. And then Rick, can I respond to the question about reverse mortgages?
Yeah, I didn't see it till just now because I can't talk and look at the chat at the same time.
So reverse mortgages are awesome. I think they're the single greatest listing tool I've ever seen. And maybe that's some way we can bring on a reverse mortgage specialist to one of these calls. But there's a concept about reverse for purchase, because we've all talked to people or door knocked and know people that haven't been upstairs in 3 years since they had knee surgery. And so they've had to, redo what was their dining room is now a bedroom, and they've had to reconfigure things. So because people think, well, if I sell my $1 million house that I bought for $200,000 and I want to stay in my community, I have to take that $800,000 of equity, and it gets confusing. But reverse for purchase is actually a way for people that are baby boomers that can purchase property with a reverse mortgage. And they don't have to take their entire nest egg and use that to buy the property. They can actually buy a house with taking some of that equity and putting it down, but then buying the house with a reverse mortgage as long as it's their primary residence. And it is awesome. So they basically live in the house for free. The house actually makes them money as it continues to build equity over time. And they have an opportunity to still keep money in the bank for security or in low risk investments or whatever, because that's the big thing that people say, hey, look, if I always thought my house was my nest egg, and now, how do I move to a single story? So it's a great opportunity to get a listing and a buy side, and ask them the questions like, who do you want to be living closer to? Do you want to be living closer to grandkids, to friends or family that may have moved out of the area? So if I'm happy to put a reverse mortgage specialist information in the chat that I know well, that's really good at this. Or if you know somebody that's a reverse mortgage specialist in your area, talk to them about reverse for purchase. It's awesome. It's just unbelievable. So a great listing tool just to communicate with people that may be living in that 2-story house where they haven't been upstairs in 3 years or more.
Yeah.
Katie, I have
Very
a
good point.
I
Go
have a
ahead.
quick question for you.
Mhm.
Because when I looked into reverse mortgages, the concern that I had is when heirs inherit the house, it looks like they don't give much time to the heir to deal with paying back the reverse mortgage. Like one said they only give a year.
They give, yeah, because you have to either sell the property or convert it into a regular mortgage. So
Year is
it's-
quite a long time.
Yeah. I mean, usually
Well, in
people
this-
know the
In
heirs
this
will-
market, it's a long time, but in other markets, it might
Yeah.
not be.
Well, and I think most reverse mortgage companies are open to, hey, if they have it listed and they have it, I mean, I think there are human beings that are making these decisions. These aren't robots. So hey, we've had it on the market for 6 months. We're working on it, right? We're lowering the price.
Yeah.
You guys know that a house actually on fire will sell at the right price, right?
Yeah.
So, we all know how to sell a house, right? If we have to sell a house because there's something going on, then you got to price it in a way that gets it sold. So,
Yeah.
But that doesn't seem like
can
a
I-
good thing for the heirs if they have to do a fire sale.
Right.
Well,
let me
yeah,
just-
but
let me-
isn't it about the seller himself and his lifestyle? I mean, I'm not going to worry about my heirs as much as I'm going to want to do what's best for me while I'm living. I
Absolutely.
would hope my kids would want that me too. And if
Yeah.
they don't, then heck with them.
And yeah, and that's a good discussion because so many, just like so many of your database have no idea what's going on in the marketplace, so many people don't have any idea that reverse mortgages are not sold by snake oil salesmen anymore, which it used to be. I used to be afraid of them myself, and I'm in the real estate industry. But guess what? They're FHA back now, which means you can depend on the fact that no one's going to get screwed. There's a special situation for everyone. Heidi, I totally agree with you, but 99.9% of the cases right now, everybody's coming out super happy because for that person who hadn't built up a retirement, reverse mortgages are like the answer to the fact that 99% of Americans are outside of that 1% that are super wealthy. And then the people that have enough wealth to live off their income without changing their mortgage situation. But it does give people, like, we were looking at a house that was on the market the other day, and it sold recently for a certain amount. And I looked at the mortgage. It was only put on in 2017. I looked into the details of the mortgage, which you can do because it's public record. And it was a reverse mortgage. And they sold within a couple of years. The woman was still living that got it. But it is an answer for a lot of things. The main reason I'm so glad Katie brought it up is not about whether or not it's the right choice for any particular individual or getting it sold a year after they die, is that it's a brilliant bring into this conversation as a listing tool. Because I have personally, in the last probably 5 years, convinced 4 people not to sell and to get a reverse mortgage. Now, that's not a lot, 4 people over 5 years, but it's still 4 people that are going to honor me forever because I convinced them not to do the one thing that makes me an income, right?
Yeah.
I convinced them not to list their house with me, instead to get a reverse mortgage. I don't get paid, but they get to continue living in the house that they have so much emotion about. So
There's rewards for that.
yeah, yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Hey, Rick.
If not now,
um,
Jim, in heaven. Yes.
Rick, it's Betty. I just
Oh.
want to say that with
Hi, sweetie.
Proposition, hi there, with Proposition 19 in California, now when the parent passes away, that property gets reassessed with the current property tax rate. And depending on the children and how much they can afford, they might be getting a tax bill for $20,000.
Well, that depends if they move into it, that's not the case.
Yeah. And even if they move into it, they're just going to reassess the amount over $1 million. So
That's right.
yeah, but
It becomes a primary residence.
And Betty, if you want to reach out to Gina separately, we did have a CPA come on to our team call. And I won't have them come on here because it's so state specific, but definitely, Betty, Gina will be glad to send you the recording.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, if you reach out.
Okay.
So
Thank
her
you.
name is spelled Geena, not any normal Gina spelling. And it's Gina.
Might be normal.
It's Gina@rickjihad.com. Well, she's not a normal person. So she's an amazing person. So.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. All right. Well, guys, it's approaching the hour, so I can take one more question or one more comment, and then we'll wrap up for the day. All right. Well, listen, guys, I love it when you guys all participate in the discussion with me, and it's not just me alone. And I got my special shiny purple shirt on for you today because purple is my favorite color. Lorena, stop laughing at me.
Rick,
Yeah, Dennis.
I would like to just take a moment and say thank you. This is
Oh.
my first meeting, and I think that it's been very informative. One thing we always seem to fail to remember is your client isn't any more important or less important than yourself. You have to convince them that you're the one that they need to get their wishes and dreams completed.
That's so cool. Thank you. That is very
Rick,
nice to
can I-
say.
A quick shout out, if I may. Polly Sykes, who's new to the group, and Rick, you've been introduced to. She just got her license. I think
got her
within the last
license.
couple of days, so she's official.
Yes. Yes. And she's been on this call even long before she was licensed, which is a testimonial to her commitment to doing well in real estate. So congratulations, Polly. Now go out and shovel some snow so you can make your way to the house. All right, guys, have a wonderful week. And we'll put the list from Gina of what we do during a listing. Remember, you're more than welcome to add to it. You're more than welcome to make suggestions. I am definitely not perfect. So we'll look forward to seeing you guys next week. Okay.
Thank you, Rick.
All right.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
It was great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rick. Thank you, Katie. This is
You're
Deborah
welcome.
Spady.
My
Thank you,
pleasure.
Katie. This is Deborah
Yeah.
Spady, Deborah Basket. You remember me?
Yes, I remember you, Deborah.
Love
Thank
you. Bringing that up
Love you
about
guys.
the
Thanks.
purchase. Great, great. It was great, Katie.
Thank you.